Welcome back to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast, a show all about inspiring smart, busy women to put their happiness at the top of their to-do list. Join your host and life coach, Dion Thompson, as she chats with amazing women who have figured out how to make their happiness a priority, and more importantly, what it's really like to go from hot mess to awesomeness. And now, on with the show.
Awesome. Welcome everybody to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast. I am your host and life coach, Dion Thompson, and I'm in a really great mood, really great space right now. I'm super grateful to my guest, Trish Beesley, who we will talk about momentarily. Wanted to comment on your song choices. I often comment on the song choices of my guests because you guys pick great songs. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, just so that you know, right before we hit record, we have a little dance party and have some fun. And so usually there's about 2 or 3 songs. We shake our booties, we sweat a little bit. It's pretty awesome. And I just wanted to comment, because this has actually come up before, that you chose a song from the Greatest Showman soundtrack, which is kind of like my thing. And it was awesome. And I really, I listen to the lyrics all the time. But at this moment, I felt like I was sort of inside it a little bit. And I just, that one line. And so if you know the song, you'll probably, recognize it, but that, bursting with a dream. And I really thought that was pretty poignant, being as that you are my guest today, because I know that you are a very passion-driven entrepreneur, photographer, amazing woman. And in every conversation since that absolute first one we had in that coffee shop, it's been really clear that you're like, I have this dream and I'm going to put it together. And it just is. It just is. Like, sure, there are blocks, but whatever, because I'm just going to keep doing what I want to do, what I envision myself doing. And so I think it's pretty poignant that you picked that song. So awesome. Trish Beesley is a photographer, and she is my photographer because, I have a photographer now. That's kind of what's going on in my life. And I am so grateful to have met you, and you've done some great things for me. Recently, we did some branding shots, and I just, remember from that experience feeling so, like, safe seems like a weird word, but it felt really comfortable and really just so where I was supposed to be. And for a lot of women, getting your picture taken and, doing poses and these are, things that you're going to be putting out into the world. You're not just saving them for yourself. It can be really kind of unnerving. And I remember from the minute I walked into your studio, and I was there all day, loving every minute of it. I just felt so taken care of. And you will be my photographer life. And it's funny because we were just talking before we hopped on about how when it comes to your clients, like your clients are become like a family, not just it's the people you did some shots for. And I definitely feel that. So thank you so much, Trish, for joining me today on the podcast and for being willing to share a little bit of your hot mess to awesomeness journey. So thank you.
Well, thank you for the invite. I love it. It was honestly, so far, the dancing has been awesome. So I'm sure the rest of it will be amazing too. And you're amazing. That first conversation that we had in the coffee shop, I think it could have gone on like all day.
Right?
We just really connected and clicked. And from breakfast to your next appointment, it was like, maybe I'll just stay and we'll just have a big group chat. Like it was really comfortable and amazing. And I always get nervous, believe it or not, when I start talking to people, which you would think is funny, right? Because I teach, I do all this stuff. I'm always in front of people, but I am such an introvert. Like I'm an extroverted introvert. Is that what they call?
Yeah.
And so I'm, once I'm on stage, I'm okay, but it's that initial, oh, I don't know, what am I going to say? But it's so easy to converse with you and have this conversation, and it's like talking to your sister. So it's really cool. And this is kind of, I guess, why most of my clients ultimately end up becoming friends and family. Like, and I've had clients, as you know, for years, And I don't even, do you want a session? I just say, hey, I'm booking in sessions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And like, that's it. It's because I talk to them like they're family now. So it's great.
Yeah.
I'm really, really blessed. I'll be honest.
Well, I'm super excited to be part of your family and to have you as part of the Hot Mess to Awesomeness community. Well, I mean,
All right.
Trish, it's obvious that you are a successful photographer. You are, and I didn't get a chance to sort of highlight the official stuff that you do. And so you are a teacher at Georgian and at Sheridan, and that you've recently launched your own sort of school, which is the Photography House, which I'm very excited about. Yes.
Yeah.
And
The photographer's house.
the Photographer's House, my apologies. And I mean, I am the kind of person that gets really interested in things, but I don't see myself as becoming the photographer, but I have more interest than just using my phone. So is that the kind of stuff that I would be able to gain from connecting with you at that through your school?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, yes, I've been teaching at Sheridan for 7 years, and I just joined Georgian this year. They actually asked me to help revamp their continuing education program in the photography, or within respects to photography. But here at the studio, or the photographer's house, it's about finding your passion. Some people I see, they just have such a passion for photography, and the technical gets them, and the composition and understanding. There's two forms to photography. There's the technical side of it, which everybody can, I mean, I know me, my students ask me all the time, the technical side, and I'm like, yeah, so turn button on. And then there's the artistic side, which is, so sometimes it's nice if you have one side to understand the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do. And it doesn't matter if you're a novice, if you're beginning, if you're shooting with your phone and you just picked up a DSLR, or maybe you got a DSLR and you haven't been off the auto mode. I'm going to show you how to actually use all the buttons that you paid for on that camera, and how to get a new lens on it. So yeah.
I think that's brilliant, and on so many levels, because I know that there's so many things that we get excited about and we buy, and then before we never get a chance to use it to its full capacity before it dies, before it's not there's another thing and another thing. So for the budding photographers, those that are interested in one side or the other, the artists, the people who want to add and as a complement to their creative endeavors, which I'm always eager to tap into, is to have a better understanding, a better connection to our creative sides. Then you'll have a chance to connect with Trish a little bit later. But for now, listen to this whole podcast, because that's why you're here. Okay. So Trish, tell us a little bit about that, the journey, like what got you to this place? Because in that first conversation at the coffee house, I vividly remember you're like, I love this. I'm really good at what I do, and it will continue to be part of my world. But we also talked about some shit storms that you ran into and that you needed to overcome. So it's been my experience that it's through those challenges, while we are dreaming those dreams and keeping our eyes wide open to come back and connect back to the Come Alive song, that we find what we need through that, so that when we get there, it almost seems like it's a little sweeter, it's a little fuller, and for me, it has this, of course this is happening. Like I have gone through this and still kept my eye on it. Like it absolutely is coming to life. So tell us a little bit about that experience for you, because I know that there is some in there.
So there's tons. So I often feel that the fruit is always sweeter on the other side, right? Because by the time you work for it, and I've always been a worker. Like I've always been a worker since I was a kid. That's just what I was taught to do. And I often would say too that, why am I getting all the shit? Why am I getting it? And I know we can swear, so I'm at least able to swear on this. But I was always constantly getting the short end of the stick and always being put down and, not enough. I'm never enough. And that, for me was like really, really difficult because I'm so driven. And that's just from growing up. I was taught, you go for it. And I mean, there's struggles obviously with everything. And what actually, I mean, I'd always had a camera in my hand. I actually have photos of one of my best friends from when we were 15 years old, and I was photographing her on a car. And I mean, okay, we were 15, guys. So like we were young and skinny and beautiful then. Not that we're not now, but we were younger and skinnier then. But photographing her. So, and I, I look back at that and go, oh my God, I knew nothing. When I first started out and at 15 photographing, my parents didn't buy me a camera or anything like that. For me, it was literally buying the disposable cameras from Shoppers Drug Mart. Do you remember? They were like $5.
Yes. Yeah.
But then when you wanted to print any of the photos, and God, could please turn out, right? They were $15. Whether they turned out or not, to print them, it was ridiculously expensive. So of course, every time I'd be like, okay, here's my, and I'm 15 years old. What money do I have? Like nothing.
Right.
So I remember that and just throughout, just loving taking pictures, loving creating. And I still look back on those pictures. Every now and then I'll bring them out when my girlfriend comes over and be like, you remember how skinny you were? And just bug her about it. But it's fun because it brings back great memories about that time. So I've always loved it because it brings you back to a time and place where you were really happy. Or it could bring you back to a place that you absolutely loved, that person, or you're missing that person. And that's amazing. And so moving forward, it wasn't that photography wasn't in my future. It just was kind of put on hold for a bit because I just looked at it as a hobby, as a thing that I could do with my friends. And then I had kids, or at least I had the first one. And it was like, okay, like every mom, right? Let's pull out the camera. We got to do this. And I can tell you distinctively that I have a pile this high of my firstborn. I have a pile this high of the second one.
Yeah.
And the third one, well, she's kind of higher because she's the only girl. So, and she does pageants. So of course her photos are like here now. But distinctively, I feel bad for the middle child. What can I tell you? But enjoying it so much, I ended up, in my travels in my life, because you got to live in order to see your dream come anyway, right? So I ended up working for a company doing labels, believe it or not. The most boring. You can't even product photos of labels. Come on. Maybe if they were a great company, but I'm not saying they're not a great company, but I'm just saying, that was where I was at. And I met my husband and he said to me, you always have a camera in your hand. You're always taking pictures. Why don't you just do it? And I was like, because then I may not like it, right? Because that's the next thing. When you have a hobby and it's strictly a hobby and you enjoy it, as soon as it becomes your job, you are like, I don't know, right? Well, I mean, 10 years later, and I still love it. I still love doing it. Sometimes I get frustrated, and everybody can, but I still love it. But that journey, I actually ended up having a car accident in 2009. And it took me on this huge ride over a period of 4 years. But within that first year after the car accident, I got married to my husband. So big changes. We moved from Toronto to Brampton, married my husband. We had a baby, our first little guy. So we had the older guy and then we have the middle guy. And of course, at that point, then I bought my first actual DSLR. And yeah, it was interesting to play with, because I'll be honest, as much as I love playing with cameras, it was always a point and shoot until it became a DSLR and there was all these buttons and stuff. And I was just like everyone else. It's not that I didn't know how to shoot. I knew the artistic, but not the technical. So that was a struggle. And then I had to go back to work. And then they let me go. They weren't supposed to let me go. But they did. And I was like, I looked at my husband, I said, well, what the heck am I going to do? Because I had a bad shoulder injury from the car accident. that I was in. I couldn't actually lift anything heavy. I couldn't be at a computer for more than 8 hours. I tell my doctor that now, but I couldn't do that at the time. So they had let me go, and I looked at my husband and said, nobody else is going to hire me right now. And he said, well, you've got your camera, just do it. Just do it. And he has been so supportive over 10 years. And then just in doing that, I started off like everyone else, just doing free sessions, low cost sessions, building my skills up and taking private classes until my mentor became, my biggest asset. He referred me to Sheridan. He did all these great things, and we ended up working together quite a bit. And that's kind of where, and I mean, obviously there's highs and lows throughout that. I mean, I don't want to give you my entire story. We could be here for years. But you grow and you grow and you grow. And when we moved to Barrie last year, so it's just a year and a month, year and 2 months now that we've been here. And I didn't shoot. Like, I barely shot last year, just because between getting our old house ready and moving to this one and then transitioning. So I didn't shoot a whole lot last year. And at Christmas time, I was like, hey, I'm ready to shoot, but I don't have the space. I don't like, what am I going to do? Bring them through my old house. So my old house had a studio that had a side entry, so my clients didn't have to walk through my whole house. And the new house doesn't have that. And I kind of looked at my husband and said, it's just not going to do. I'm going to have to find some place to shoot. And it was just by fluke that I happened to find the place that I'm in now in Cookstown on Facebook, because we all troll Facebook at 2 o'clock in the morning when we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our lives if we can't shoot. I was like, well, I could only shoot in, the summer. So, look at this place. So it turned out that, this place came available, and we're here now. But in that journey, it was like, do I stop shooting? Like, what am I supposed to do? We need to have the 2 incomes. And at one point I kind of looked at my husband and said, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to get a full-time job? What are we going to do? Because we still didn't have 2 kids. So one was in school and the smallest one is in daycare. Or at least while I was working, she was in daycare. And I was like, well, if I work, I'm only going to make so much. And then I got to pay daycare. So what are we going to do? And he looked at me and said, you need a job. You need to get a job, because we just can't. And I got mad. I'll be honest. I was really pissed off at him. I was like, I wanted to beat him over the head. And I mean, I love my husband. He's very, very supportive.
But you did ask him.
I did ask him, which was, because what I was expecting was, baby, you haven't even had a chance yet. You go do it and let's see what happens. Right. That's what I was expecting. My husband, though, never disappoints. He always gives the opposite answer of what you want to hear, but still very, very supportive and funny. So I kind of looked at him and I said, who the hell do you think you are? I said, we moved in here. I watch the kids. You go to work. You do this. You do that. And you're telling me that I can't continue on with my business because I can't shoot? Well, how about we find me a place to shoot? How about you give me a chance to actually work my business without having to have children around me and booking your appointments? How about you call the fucking doctor yourself and do it yourself so I can take the 15 minutes and talk to a client? I said, people don't know me up here. Once they know me up here, it's going to be a different ballgame. So he's like, okay.
You know what? I just want to comment, because I find it fascinating, because this is you're not the first person to voice out loud what it is that you want, but have to do it through somebody else first, right? So ultimately you asked him, but you already knew what you wanted, but we get into this space where either we don't acknowledge it and we need to have it sort of the opposite shown to us so that we can go, oh no, that's not what I want to do. Or we can get sort of like caught up in the, what I should do and all this like that. Well, I'm supposed to be, like, bullshit. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, and our partners, who the loves of our lives, often they're that person, because they're the person who's there, they're the safest, and here we are. And ultimately, you you knew what you needed to do. You just needed your own kick in the ass to go and do it. And I also wanted to just comment on something you had said earlier, because it really struck me. I'm like, fascinating. Which was when you were making that decision to go from hobby to like businesswoman, you ran into but what if I don't like it anymore? So, and obviously you do continue to love it. So I was wondering, what is it that you did to ensure that it stayed part of your passion, even though it also was generating income, without it becoming like work? And it does come work, but how do you maintain the flair, the passion, the spark?
Okay, so the first thing was the money. I love money. I love spending money. I am a proven shopaholic. So I knew, and it's all my husband's fault, because before I met him, I used to buy, the great value stuff, and now I'm on to Heinz, and I'll never go back. So that's kind of like, that was me before and after. So I love money and I love to spend it. So that was the first thing, because I needed a job and I needed to make sure I could maintain my lifestyle. But what actually the best part about my job, honestly, is that there's so many facets to it that, the first year I just shot families and babies, trying to kind of get my feet wet and really, do great by them. And then I was like, okay, well, I need to make more money, because these families, and at the rates that I was charging at back then, I was like, this ain't gonna buy me a new backdrop. Like this, we gotta move it up. So, and then I started shooting weddings, and I'll tell you, I had 1 to 2 weddings every single weekend when I said, hey, I'm gonna do weddings. From May until November one year, I burnt myself out completely. So it was like I went from this genre to this genre. I was like, nah, maybe I'll do some modeling photos. So then I started doing models. And then I started shooting boudoirs. And then I started shooting business women. And then I was like, oh, I'm bored. Let's go shoot animals. And I kind of, so it kept it fresh and new. And now I'm like, shit, I've shot everything. What did I really, and you've seen the studio, there's tons of baby crap in here. There's like change tables, there's all kinds of wraps, and I keep on buying them, props and everything else. And I'm like, but I don't want to shoot them. But I do when I'm bored. So I have to have that stuff, and not when I'm bored. I mean, somebody's gonna say, "Oh, she doesn't want to shoot babies, she's crazy." But honestly, my passion started really evolving when I started working with more business women, and seeing their excitement, because I'm excited, because I love my job and I love being able to succeed, and I love seeing other people succeed, and I love to help them. So as that started to evolve, I started learning more about graphic design and how to design logos and create, templates and flyers and just inspire other women. And I'm really, people are like, oh, we'll just inspire everybody. I'm like, no, like girls get like the tramped on all the time, because we got to be the moms, and we got to be this, and we got to do that, and we got to do this. And I looked at my husband, I said, if there was 15 of me, there still wouldn't be enough between all of you guys. Right. And extended family and everything else. I said, you know what? Just let's do it. I just get out of my way and let me do it. So there's not enough for us. And every time I see someone come in and they ask me about, what is it that inspired you? What is my drive to succeid and show every other asshole out there how fucking awesome I am. That was and it took me a long time. I know it sounds funny, but it took me a long time to get to that. So now I'm completely inspired by that as part of my, and I have women who come in here and they do boudoir sessions, and they're like, oh, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, girl, rip it off. Let's do it. Like, just, there's no boundaries. If you can take that step in a piece of lingerie, think about what the hell you're going to do outside. Like, it's amazing. And that's kind of just inspired me. And because of my love of teaching and sharing and wanting to see everybody succeed, it kind of evolved now to the photographer's house, where I'm still shooting, but I'm getting this on the go as well, where I'm inspiring other young artists who want to really get out there And I tell my students all the time, there's no bounds. Like with technology now, you can start as a photographer of people, and by the time you're done, so we talked before this, and I was like, I'm in the process of doing videos, workshop videos for somebody else.
Right.
You know, so, and doing video, and I'm not a videographer, like not even a little bit, but I'm learning as I go. So there's always something new to add to your repertoire. And I think that's what keeps it fresh for me.
And
And
that's
motivating.
brilliant. And, one of my core things is, learning, and not like I'm a lifelong learner. I am a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
And that's not the meat of it. It's, for those of us who have a passion, have a interest, have a desire, maybe have this dream, sometimes we can get really caught up in our own shit going, well, there's so many other people that do it, or I don't know enough, or my little part's not that big of a deal. And in essence, it's kind of like that spark, that thing that's drawing you in, that lights you up. It's just the beginning, right? You can't really know where it's going to take you, but just knowing that you love it, and acknowledging how you feel when you're in it, that it isn't just, it's the thing that I do after I'm done doing the job I don't like. Like it's the thing that keeps me happy. And don't get me wrong, there could be great balance between what you do for paid work and what you do for hobby work, and finding joy and where you need to find it. But, if the alternative is just to go get a job so that money will come in, and following
Anybody
a little bit, right. And following that little bit of passion, explore where it goes. And for you to be able to go, there's no end. Okay, babies. Yeah. Okay. What's the next thing? All right. What's the next thing? And then paying attention to the joy you get in it, loving it for what it was. And then going, it's okay to want to expand and do something different under the same umbrella. So your video work is under the photographer's house. It is in that world, and it's completely different. And I attract a lot of multi-potentialites. So people who like to do a variety of things. Sometimes they're interrelated, sometimes they're not. And often one of the things they worry about is that they don't have a one thing, like that this is the definer, right? Because we're so driven as a society to walk around and go, I am what I do. And so if I do a lot of things, then what am I? And how can I make sure that I have the right thing, or say the right thing, or show up the right way, all that bullshit. Anyway, I just wanted to, because I know I see you get excited about each thing that you dive into. And it's not that you're not excited about babies, but that you're also excited about this, and follow this and follow this. So for the people, again, for the people who are tuning in and under the very social norm of creative work is not work. So I know many creatives who have been fortunately very, very driven and surrounded by people who believed in their passion and their creative work. And I know a lot of people like myself who that was not a thing. Like creative work is not work. It's the thing you do when no one's watching. It's the other thing. And that work is work, and you need to go in. Here's your categories of appropriate jobs that you can have, and make sure that they all make X amount of dollars, because this. And no fault to anybody in my world. It was very just the way a lot of people continuously think. And
can I tell you, I feel like, sorry to interrupt, I feel like there's two different types of people. There are, and this, I call my husband this, I call him the worker bee. So there's the worker bee, and then there's the queen, right? The worker bee is the guy or the person who they go, it's mundane. Every day they do the same thing. They go and pick their pollen, and they come back, and but it's the queen who's saying, yes, bitch, get that shit done. And, and she's the one, she's having all the baby bees who become worker bees, because she's the bomb, right? So she's the one. And she's motivated to grow and make her hive huge. Right. So that is, I think that it revolves down to two people. There are worker bees, and then there are queens.
And they both are necessary. You can't have a queen without
They're
workers, and you
both
can't have
necessary.
workers
Yeah.
without a queen. And I see this all the time. You know, I ventured out into entrepreneur land. You ventured out into entrepreneur land. And some people, that's not where they need to go. And nobody has to. Like, it's not
No,
it's not an evolution. That's not the next
no.
step. It's where it is that you feel most lit up, most on purpose, most of service to yourself, your family, and the world. And we have to have people who want all the, like, someone who wants to do this, and someone who wants to do this, and someone who's excited about this, and for me, it always comes down to the values we feel driven by, where we align our sense, like what's our sense of purpose and how we align to that. I have come in contact with a number of men specifically who truly are in not that they're doing something they don't want to do, but their alignment around their sense of purpose, and their sense of purpose is as a provider, and they take on that persona, and it becomes part of who they are. And so it becomes very, very exactly what they choose to do. It's not that they're doing it out of spite, and it falls in line with how they want to show up in the world, gives them the opportunity to be the best dad they feel they are, the best husband, the best all of those things. Anyway, not that this was about our husbands, but it is about all of us.
They're
really
a part of it. Well, I mean, I feel like when I say to my husband, oh, I got this contract and this is what we're doing, and he's super excited. His job, and what he's told me since the beginning, he wants to be a kept man. He wants to stay home with the kids, and he wants me to support him. And I'm honestly okay with that. Yeah. I really honestly am. He's a great supporter and he's a great provider, but I think it works as an entrepreneur. And it doesn't matter what stage you're in, you always need, whether you're just starting out with, low income coming in and you need that extra support, or you're making a decent amount of money to support your family, you still need that support from your spouse, that not only are they there when you're not doing well, but they're there when you are. Because, and another thing with entrepreneurs is that we need to really strive. We need to rise up, as I always say. You need to realize who you are and come out of yourself. I mean, I was hidden for so long in myself. Like I had tons of just bad self-esteem. Like I was, not good looking. And I think you've seen, there was a post I posted on my Facebook a couple of months ago. And I was like, you know what? This is who I am. I'm a great person. I'm a good, gentle soul. I will give you the shirt off my back. I will try and help you out however I can, to the point of hurting myself. And when I say that, putting myself in a bad position. But at the same time, don't mistake my kindness for weakness, because I am not weak. And it took me a long time to realize how powerful I am, how powerful my words are, and how powerful my actions are. So whether I am doing this, which I absolutely love, and I mean, I go back and forth. Some days I'm like, I love it. And some days I'm like, oh, for the love of Peter. But there are other days where I'm like, I am, I have a client come in and I empower them. And when they leave, they just feel so positive and safe, as you had said, and they feel good about themselves. That is empowering for me as well. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to put yourself out there enough to bring yourself down to your core and realize who you are. I mean, I'm 45 this year, and I'm like, it took me like 43 years to figure that out.
Yeah. And you know what, you are not alone there, 44 this year, and it took me a hell of a long time. And I just wanted to highlight, you're absolutely right. For entrepreneurs, it's a really valuable mindset to adopt or to live into. And for those that are not entrepreneurs, I mean, many women, whether you have children or not, or you are, your family includes people or animals or whatever it may be, that capacity to understand that the power that you hold and how you can wield it to have an impact, right? So, your words are powerful. Your thoughts are powerful. How you choose to show up is powerful. And it goes against what many of us have come to believe over time, where we stand and how we do it. That I think is such a powerful, it's a powerful message about power. But it's a truth that many of us are blinded to just through the experiences of living in this world. And
so can I tell you
Yeah.
a little, it's funny, this story is so fun. I don't know what it was. I took my kids to Costco. This was a few years ago, before COVID, before masks, before any of that stuff. And I had taken them to Costco, and I was furious. Like, I was just having a bad all around day to begin with. And it wasn't anything my kids had done. You know, I was cool with them, but, you know, we had gone shopping, and, you know, it's Costco. So you're there for at least an hour by the time. And like I said, I like to shop. So we go through every aisle and everything else. And finally got to the cashier, and now I'm getting irritated just because, I don't know, like something flipped in my head. I was just, a whole lot of things, emotions were happening all at once. And I know there was, I don't remember what it was, but there was something that was just in the back of my mind that was really making me sad, and I couldn't express it. And I was at the cash with, you know, Costco, you went in for socks and you come out with, like, you know, it cost you $500 basically for those socks. And I had a cart full of stuff, but my bank card wasn't working. And it's not that there wasn't any money in there. It just wasn't. And the girl looked at me, she goes, well, you have to press the PIN pad. And it threw me to a different place. And I was like, do I look like an idiot to you? I'm like 3 times your age, girl. Do I look like an idiot to you? I was really mad. And I finally said, you know what? Keep your stuff. I took my kids and I left. And I was furious. Now, my kids, we had you know, the hot dogs and the pop that's there for $1.50, best hot dog and a pop for $1.50 ever. And so I still had my drink, and I was loading my kids into the car and getting them in. And I kind of went around to the back because I don't know if I had a stroller. I had something that I had to put in the back. I know it wasn't food because I didn't buy any. And I was so angry. My kids were already in the car, and I literally turned around and I threw my drink across the parking lot, like just on the ground. Like, I wasn't aiming for anybody. Right. Well, there was an old lady. Now, this is where the point actually comes. But there was an old lady and her daughter. Oh, that's a really nice thing you're teaching your children. And I laced into the old lady. I felt bad. She was probably like close to 80 years old. And I just, who the hell do you think you are? You shut your, and I was mean. Like, I was down, like I let it out. And it wasn't at her. But if she had turned, and I was angry, and so if she had turned around to me and said, are you okay? Like, what happened? Are you okay? I probably would have broken down in tears and had a good, honest heart-to-heart with this lady, who would probably have made my day feel so much better. So your power is in what you make it. So every day that I'm out, if I'm in a bad mood, I don't leave my house because I know I'm going to rip someone's head off. But guess what? I haven't been in a bad mood since I got my studio. I'm just saying. But even with my mask on, I smile with my eyes. I truly believe your eyes are the windows to your soul. And I smile at everyone. I don't care if they're having a bad day. I don't care if they're, you know, if whatever, they stink or something or whatever. But I give them that smile to let them know that there's someone who appreciates them in this world. And I think whether you're a worker bee or a queen or whatever, you need to give that positive reinforcement to people to show them there's always a light. There's always a way out. There's always a way to succeed. There's always a way to be more than what you feel like you're at.
And you know what? And that smile is a two-way street, because it's beneficial, like inwardly, right? When you carry that, it's not your job to make other people happy, but by being there and present and showing up the way you choosing to do, there's a ripple effect. And I think that that's such a really important thing in the world always, and today.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a good message, I think, for people, because one of the things that I noticed, especially now having to wear masks when you're out, you don't get to see the expression on people's faces anymore. So you don't know what their day is like. And that smile might, you know, take them from going over the edge and throwing a pop across the parking lot. it was an emotional day. And I'll tell you, when I got in the car, I just bawled my eyeballs out. My kids were like, "What's wrong, mommy?" And I felt really bad but I obviously not for them, but yeah, it's one of those things that I think as women in general, even men, like there's so much pressure now to be the best at everything and to do so much and to be a part of everything that if you feel like you can't, because there are days where you just need to shut down.
Yeah.
And there are days like and I mentioned this to you. I said, well, we're going to be on the last 2 weeks of vacation going into the school. So we'll do the podcast on the 9th when the kids are in the school, and it'll all be good. And you know what? I haven't stopped in 2 weeks. I had literally 2 days where I said, no, I'm not even going to turn on my computer. So it's just, you have to shut down in order to energize yourself, to energize and help the people around you, and then be able to succeed and strive, and kind of recharge that battery for the energy that you need to make your world happen.
Absolutely. Speaking of making things happen, I didn't even mention that you are one of the amazing sponsors of the 100 Women on Fire event, which is happening very, very soon. And I'm very excited for you to be able to connect directly with all of the amazing women who are attending. I think we're like 85 or something amazing like that. So it's very exciting. So maybe give us a little snippet, or, what would be something that you would share with a woman stepping into that event, right? So the event is all about helping women to sort of bust through that inner critic crap, embrace their awesomeness, and help and really to rewrite their story, write a new chapter, if you will. What would you say to someone who's stepping into that event for the first time? They may or may not be entrepreneurs, but they're definitely on a mission to make their happiness a priority.
So this is actually my first time in this event as well, like completely. So, and I'm sad that it's not happening live, but I'm excited to see it online.
I know. Well, the next live event, so just as a pause, because you, of course, are the photographer for the event, and the event switched to virtual, which changes things. So when we do return to face-to-face, you'll be there sharing your awesomeness then. But it's still going to be great. It will just be great differently.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be amazing. The energy that you already emit online as we're talking, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. So I'm excited for it. And I've already told my husband that these 2 days, nobody comes near me. And I know it's only half a day, but you all leave me alone. I just don't want to hear it. But so the first thing I would say is it's only the beginning.
Yes.
Only the beginning, right?
Goosebumps.
There is, and I haven't, like I said, I'm losing my earpiece. So it's my first time at your event, but I have been to other ones, and as a photographer, and I have gone in and I've shot, and I don't think that was working. I've gone in and I've shot, and then I pause and I go, shit, I missed all of that because I was so busy shooting.
Right.
And then one year I sat down at this conference and I listened. So that would be my second thing to say is, it's the beginning. You need to listen. And when you start hearing the stories of all these women, of where they started and where they came to, or where they are now, you're going to be like, bitch, I'm going to be up on stage next year. That's where I'm going to be, because it's so motivating, and it's your story. All these other women out there, these entrepreneurs, the ones that are getting started, maybe the women who are just, they don't want to be an entrepreneur. They're okay with going to work and having their own thing, but they just need a sisterhood. I feel like you walk in, it's the beginning. You need to listen, and then you need to take it all in. And when you take it all in, you begin to realize that the women that are at your table that you've never seen before, or that you've only seen in passing different networking groups, or you've seen them online or whatever it is. And all of a sudden those aren't just other women, they're your sisters, because they want to see you succeed. They want to see you get to, whether it's being, you know, the owner of a conglomerate, huge powerhouse company, or whether it's like, I put on pants today. That's a good thing. They want to see you get there. And I think that is what I feel from you. Like, that's what I get from you. So I know that your event is going to be amazing. Because when I think about you, and I know it sounds funny, but I want to put pants on every day, every day. And I want to show up. I want to show up. And that would be my last thing, show up, you know, and so it's just the beginning. You need to listen. You need to take it in. Remember, they're your sisters, and then show up. Yeah. And that's it. Those are my 5 things that I would say.
Please. I'm just going to like frame that, put it out into the world. Thank you. And that's exactly the essence of the entire Women on Fire movement. It's really about building a community, a sisterhood, regardless of what it is that you show up to every day. It's that you feel that you have it within you. And if it's not within you, you have the people around you to help hold you there so that you can continue to do what you desire to do every day and put your happiness right at the top of that to-do list. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see you at the event, and for everyone to get to know you a little bit better and connect with you. I highly, highly recommend, if you have any photography needs, or if you're really interested in photography and you want someone who will tell you what it's really like, how it really works, and how you can make it work for you, then Trish is definitely the person you want to talk to. So thank you. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And you absolutely can get tickets if you're interested at 100womenonfire.com. And I hope to see everybody very soon. Okay. Bye.
Get your tickets, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join Dion again next week to learn more about what you can do to go from hot mess to awesomeness.